And that's what you got to we got to let go as actors. We can't, it's none of our business what other people think about us.
Okay, but on the same note, I have a question for you. I listened to one of your episodes lately with the guy from The Flash. No, this is good.
Okay.
You guys are talking about how you can never allow yourself to really enjoy your experience. And part of my heart broke because it's like a lot of actors go their whole careers never able to enjoy anything they've ever done.
I was so disappointed and freaked out that it wasn't what I intended. And I still do that. Like I'll watch, whether it's recently a Hallmark movie or an episode of The Flash, I'll watch it and I'll hate the way I look. I didn't accomplish. If I wait, I forget what I intended.
Right.
And I can appreciate what I did.
And I don't think anyone's ever been able to say why you can. Like it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people go through their lives just, like I'm so miserable and misery is such a motivation.
Because I'm not a cocky, like overconfident person by any means. I actually am like very insecure a lot of the time and beat myself, very self-loathing. But like you said, like, I mean, I was like, why would I be doing this if I didn't think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on Broadway. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, why would I be doing this?
I'm really hard on myself too. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at, and I started to, look, you don't ever let that go. I don't care who you are. People say, oh, come on, you gotta let it go. You gotta, it's, my friends would give me shit about that, but I try not to watch things right away. Like you said, give it some time. And then I actually can go back now. I hadn't seen an episode of Smallville in years. And I saw an old episode that was like on, it was Hulu. I go, why the hell not? And I go, I used to think you looked so terrible bald and you looked like shit. And hate it. And now I'm like, dude, you actually look all right to be 10 years younger.
And I don't know how to get through that, but I guess my point, I did that going through Smallville. And now that time has passed, I actually am not able to appreciate it somehow.
Right.
And I don't know, you just spoke specifically about how like you're never happy. Not that you're never happy, but like when you perform, you're like,
It stresses me out. I just want to enjoy myself. I don't think I've ever really, there are moments when I'm really comfortable on set and I enjoy things, but overall I put so much pressure on myself to be great that it's hard to enjoy what you're doing when you just are always striving to be great and not just enjoying the moment. I think that goes with life. It's like, if you're not in the moment, how are you going to enjoy it? You're always ahead of yourself. You're stressing out about things.
I think just an aside, as I'm getting older, I'm like sitting into things more and I'm finding it much quicker. Back on Smallville, I'd be like, give me the tear stick. I need like an hour. I need to look at videos of dogs being put down. Like I need to do that. And now it's like, okay, just let me know when we're rolling. Give me a minute. And then like, I know where it is now.
Right.
I feel comfortable in it. I'm like, I've experienced life for 36 years and I want to share this.
I'm always on edge. I feel like I have to, like my whole lifespan, I have to be great. I have to be great at this. I have to come through. I have to show them that I'm great. I have to know my lines and said I have to do it, and that drives me up a wall where I wish I could sit there and say, I've settled into myself. I'm fine. I can just do this. I know what I'm doing. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing, but I second guess myself a lot.
I think that's normal. Like I still do that.
How is Grant Gustin as a human being?
It was one of the most rewarding experiences because people always ask me what Grant is like, but Grant works from his truth. So what you see, there's a fun, there's a spark, and there's an exquisite vulnerability.
Since probably 4 or 5, I've dealt with like anxiety, depression. Like I had really weird, anxious type dreams as like a really young kid, and I don't want to get too into it, but like we before we got married, we started doing couples therapy just to like, be ready for marriage before there was really nothing going on in the marriage. And then all kinds of things for both of us start to like come to the surface, and as good for us as a couple and like as individuals, and all kinds of, I knew I had always dealt with anxiety, but putting like, getting pinpointed ideas about where things started and why you were feeling that way. Anxiety is ever present in my life for sure.
So depression though, this is something I dealt with for the first time. And I have an understanding of what I think I personally This is not like I'm not a scientist here. You know,
Nor
I
am
think
I.
I understand where depression comes from.
Talk about it.
But what is it for you? I'm just curious where you think.
I think it's these. I think they always say the past is depression and the future is anxiety. When you're thinking into the future, you're thinking anxiety. When you're thinking of the past, it's sort of depression. I think with me is when I get anxious or when I'm in pain, I almost feel a sense of I'm not whole, I'm not complete, I'm not perfect, I'm not all these things, and it gives me anxiety thinking, how do I get back to normalcy? And what is normalcy? And
I mean, there's only been a couple times that I feel like it's really gotten me, but it's it's just like you're outside of your own head back here, and you're just out of it, like you're not where you want to be, and then that creates more anxiety, and then it just it compounds.
you're hyper aware of all these negative things. You're ruminating on all these negative things, which now appear to be real, but they're really not. But you're making them feel real, right?
Yeah, but the circumstances I'm talking about were I was not in control of the environment. Whereas like what you're talking about is interesting to me because, in that convention space, you're complete control, yet the anxiety still crept in.
Is this making you anxious?
It's weird, and this is it's been a little rough for me to talk about because I don't want people to have the perception that's like a fake anxiety, it's a fake concern, because I'm really fortunate right now. But I am still suffering from horrible anxiety, and it's just, some days I just wake up and I don't want to get out of bed. I don't even want to wake up.
Because once I got settled down back in LA, after all of it, after all the dust settled, I was like, I couldn't get up in the morning. The things that you talk about with depression, I could, only wanted to sleep all the time. It felt so foreign to me. Somebody with this zest for life and this energy that's, this drive, this work ethic, it's insatiable. And to feel like I can't get out of bed. I didn't understand why I would want to anyway. And then feeling like now I'm just a burden to my family, that my kids are seeing me like this. I can't let them see me like this. I'm like this shell of myself, and they see me in bed all day.
It's just depressing as hell. And I think to myself, I'm feeling like this and I'm fortunate. How are people who are suffering, who are losing everything they have, and their families are going hungry and they don't even have, they can't put food on the table, they don't have access to food, or they just they've run out of money.
Yeah.
How are they dealing with this? So it's it's a tough thing for me to talk about openly, because I don't feel like I have the right to to complain or be, but I am it's killing me.
I couldn't believe how open and honest Alan was.
It's great.
Coming out of that season of busyness and all that, the manic energy for far longer than we should ever have to sustain that kind of energy. This crisis of faith in humanity, a little bit of uncertainty of where I should be right now.
An identity crisis a little bit.
It all, dude.
And you came to your wife and you told her honestly, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm thinking, and I don't want to ruin this marriage, but these are kind of what's...
I came to her and I said, I think it's better if I'm not here.
Really?
Yeah.
And what'd she say?
Please don't do anything crazy. It was a very real conversation.
So you were here, meaning if you weren't alive.
Yeah.
You were that bad. You were dark.
It was I could not pull myself out of it.
Well, it sounds like after the whole Superman thing, you thank God in a way, because let's say the sequels happened, you wouldn't have changed. That would have lingered on like a freaking Cranberry song.
Who knows? Who knows?
But the fact that
I could have really broken down in a bad way, or lashed out, or done some other thing, because I wouldn't have had the experiences that I did have, the loss that I did have to help.
How much of a better person do you think you are from that experience and growing and figuring all that out in those fucking moments where you're just sobbing and growing? By the way, you weren't that old when this happened.
25.
25.
Yeah. I thought I knew everything. Of course, we always do.
It's crazy.
I mean,
but
it's been all flash for 6 years, which I know you know all too well.
Yeah, but I think that, if you look back right now, I definitely don't have, I'm sure people say, I don't have regrets. In fact, my uncle got tattooed, no regrets. I'm like, fuck, that's a lot. I don't think, I don't think that, under that you should put a caption not entirely true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all have regrets.
I don't have regrets though. I mean,
that's the thing. You have to prove yourself. And I'm like listening to you. And it's funny because sometimes I think I'm going to have nothing in common with people. And then you start talking. I think we all have things that are in common. Like there is an ego. Ego is such a big part of everyone's life that they probably ruin a lot of opportunities. And I remember I had opportunities, but it was ego. It was lack of discipline. I don't want to go learn this. It was sort of embarrassing. If I look back, I'm like, you fucking pompous little shit. For you to go, you have an audition with, Tom Hanks or something. I mean, I worked on that one. But, Good Will Hunting and Saving Private Ryan. And I remember this like the night before partying. I was a kid. I was like 26. And I was like, I'm going to go. I didn't give a shit. Like, because I wasn't mature. And by the way, maturity isn't something that is in my vocabulary, but I'm very responsible. And, it takes time. You say it takes time to sort of like look back and go, hey, this is where I was fucking up. This is why. And you said you relearn things. And I've talked about this before, but I wasn't relearning. I had to learn all these things. I had to learn all the things that I didn't learn as a child. And so there was a lot of growing up that I've done probably the most growing up I've done in the last year and a half of just between doing this podcast and like talking to folks like you. And so just sort of digging deep and like, it's funny because I'm watching you, you're like, there's still things that you're figuring out. We're all figuring out.
I would never trade off where I'm at right now to be somewhere else in my life or in my career. I mean, I think one thing I really struggle with, me and my wife were talking about it recently, and me and my mom had the conversation all the time. She's the one that really pointed out to me, like, I have imposter syndrome for sure. Like, I don't think I ever deserve anything that I get, or that like I'm not, worthy, or I didn't work hard enough for it, or someone else worked harder or was more talented. So like, that's something I struggle with all the time, just being like, okay with where I'm at and feeling like I deserve it or earned it.
I think that goes with life. It's like, if you're not in the moment, how are you going to enjoy it? You're always ahead of yourself. You're stressing out about things. And how do you deal with that?
Well, you brought up having kids. My kids have taught me how to be in the moment because, I mean, when you're on set, you're in the moment because somebody says action or go, and you're there.
Right.
And if you're not there, you probably don't stand a chance, at least for that scene or whatnot. But with your kids and maybe your frustrations building or this and that, but even my wife has told me, it's like, it's all temporary. So it's going to change in probably 15 minutes anyway, whatever's going on, the happiness or the frustration. So just enjoy it, because your kids are going to grow and they're going to be gone before you know it.
But when you look back and you think, I deflected, I started playing Warcraft, my wife's doing this. Do you remember even like having any breakdowns, any emotional moments, any like crying bouts of like, just like, God, what's the matter with me? I'm emasculating myself. Did you ever feel like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail because that's but there was a moment, and that was the moment when things started to change. Crying, sobbing on the floor. Because I finally allowed myself to I was in a vulnerable enough place, I guess, to come face to face with how people saw me. So you have this vision of who you are, right? And then there's how people see you. And when those two things are incongruent, when they don't come together, they don't match up, you look in the mirror and what's looking back at you is other person's reflection of who you are. It's like, what? Wait a second. No. For a long time you go, they're wrong, right? They're wrong. They're wrong. It's not me.
Right.
I know who I am. But if you really allow that to see that, it's like,
it can be devastating.
Every day it was like, why me, man? Like, why am I so lucky? And I've kind of every step of the way felt like that, for sure.
I can tell you why. Because that's the thing that's hard, because when people's perception of you is obviously different from the perception you have of yourself. Obviously, I'm talented, this and that. But like, I look at you and I'm like, he's a good looking guy. He's really talented. But all that aside, the best trait about you from just knowing you, and I think which is the most important with anybody, is who they are as a person. People see that, and if it translates, they want to be around you. They like you're very likable. That's a huge thing.
So going through that whole trauma of Superman Returns, the end of Superman Returns, was a long, drawn out process of me in denial for much of it. And thankfully, I guess I didn't lean on drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
Partying, I played World of Warcraft endlessly.
I see that you're Warcraft.
And that was my addiction. And then, a few other games along the way, but that was where I lost myself and spent way too much time. It took me a long time to come to terms with that was an addiction for me.
To beat the game.
Yes.
It took a long time.
I beat Warcraft. Wait, it's still going? Wait, they keep updating?
Wait a minute. Well, you saw what happened with Steven. Obviously we've talked about it a million times. And I thought that was so brave. And like, I think nowadays you could sort of talk about that thing, especially in this show. It just, without a doubt, I didn't know this was going to happen, but it helps. It just helps people. They're like, oh my God, this guy's so successful. And he deals with anxiety. How does he deal with it? And it's just like, you're not saying this is the answer to fix your anxiety. This is what I do to help me. Do you think that you have yet to mourn this show, like being done with it? Do you think that's going to hit you when you least expect it? Or do you think it's been so that you're pretty much done? You're good. You've been wanting this to end, even though you love it. You love the fans.
I do love the fans. I just don't want any responsibility right now, other than husband and father. I really don't.
Are you going to go see someone, or you're not going to do that?
I might. I think I might.
We live in a culture right now not right now. We have the Western culture, as long as capitalism's been around, that feeds this idea into our minds from a very young age that says, if you aren't grinding yourself down, you're not working hard enough. And if you don't work hard enough, you won't be successful. Right. This correlation between hard work and fatigue and success. Elon Musk, I think tweeted recently something that was just sort of, if you're not working 80, 90 hours a week, you're not, you don't deserve it, whatever it is you're after. I don't know,
That's a lot.
Not quoting him, but and it's, the fact that we should feel like, we deserve poverty, or somebody deserves poverty because they decide to rest their body a little bit, is a ridiculous idea when you think about it. Right. I mean,
is it hot in here, or am I just sweating?
Hang on a second. You are sweating.
I am. I don't know why. Hey, look, if you're cool with me sweating, I'll just sit here and sweat.
No.
Don't worry about it, man.
No, I'm hot too. I am hot.
Yeah.
Is it? It okay. Is hot. I noticed it, but I'm not sweating.
Honestly, man, I think I might be sick.
You want to throw up?
Yeah.
Well, come on. Use my bathroom.
I might have to cut this short, man. I'm not feeling well at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you... you leave if you want, but why don't first you drink some water? I'm going to get you some Tylenol.
No, I think I just got to go.
Do you want me to bring you home? Let me drive you home.
Actually, just kind of want to walk. Do you mind?
Sure?
Yeah, I just need fresh air.
Dude, come on.
Thanks, buddy.
What you had just heard was a guy who was exhausted, and there, as much as he plays a superhero on TV, we're human beings, and I commend him for coming back and talking to me. But he had to go. He had to cut this interview short, as you hear. And it was a little bit crazy, as you're going to hear.
Yeah, that idea that we should be going all the time is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's good. That's really.
I think it's what kills us. Ryan was a little freaked out, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, he says you were white. He's just like, I just hope he's okay. I don't know, but I know panic attacks. Yeah. I know overwhelmingness, and I could tell you were sweating. I could tell you, not really. I don't know. You just weren't.
Well, for starters, I shouldn't have. I knew it. I should have canceled.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you're. Yeah, I don't know why. In fact, I said that. Why would you like your?
Yeah, so.
You just love the fucking podcast.
I do. Well, I mean, I left here. I tried to drive. I walked home. You pulled up beside me and tried to drive me home.
I drove down the street.
Yeah, I was freezing on the walk, but not because I was just freezing because I was just my body
the cold.
Sweating in the cold, and I got home. I got onto the couch, put a blanket over me, and again was freezing, but just sweating bullets. And just told my wife. I just said I had a really bad panic attack, and I
texted her after. I said I just got to check up on him.
Really?
I did. She didn't tell you. Please don't say anything.
That's fine.
But I was worried about you, and that's why I was like, "Fuck." Jess was like, "Well," or who said it? Maybe it was Jess. Was like, "Well, it's rush hour, all these cars, and if he's having a panic attack, I was racing down. Like, dude, get in my truck. You're like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to listen to I wanted to listen to a podcast and walk by myself. Actually, not yours.
Right, that's all right. It's okay. It's okay. You left mine to listen to another. It totally makes sense, dude. Do you ever feel like I'm still alone in a way sometimes?
I think there's been times, like when we were doing Smallville, there was a lot of loneliness because I didn't know how to navigate that. And maybe I kind of kept everybody away because I wanted to be alone because, one, I didn't have any time alone. But I don't mind being by myself. I mean, everybody needs time to themselves. As you know, I just moved and got some more space up in Northern California. And at least for an hour a day, I go outside and I'm up in the hills and the mountains and by myself. And I don't see it as an act of meditation, but it probably is. It just gets me out.
Yeah.
It's my own thing.
The reality of it all, how you do get down, you do get depressed, you do get anxious, you're not happy with the way things are going sometimes. And that's life, man. That's freaking life.